Welcome back to the next part of how to build like six-figure financial portfolio. It's really important to understand the key importance of diversification. The reason why many investors always keep saying you have to have a diversified portfolio. You cannot keep all your eggs in one basket. That's a common saying by my dad. The reason is because if you hit a financial crisis or if you hit any bumpy road, for example, if one of your particular stocks that you heavily invested in, about 80%, goes bust or something goes wrong, and at the same time you need to exit to get money for maybe a wedding, a house or something. And if you don't diversify your portfolio, the 80% might fall, you might lose 60% and you lose so much money, and by the time you exit you make a huge loss. That's why never focus your stocks and shares investment in just one industry, one company, or even one particular country. You have to make sure that you diversify properly. And when you read various information on the internet, there are many ways of skinning this financial cat here. But for me, I try to keep it simple because my audience are mom and dad, families, sisters, people who don't have a financial degree, who wants to keep working on their jobs, and they just want to keep it simple. For me as well, I want to keep it simple. Okay, so how do we diversify? So previously I spoke about make sure you get 10 to 20,000 US dollars or Great British pounds or euros into stocks and shares index the S&P 500. I've spoken about it heavily in the last episode. So for now, how do we diversify it even further when you're starting to grow even more and more, when you start to save more? Let me keep it simple. Imagine a pyramid. Imagine a pointy triangular pyramid. And we've got four levels that we need to speak about here. As it goes up, the peak gets smaller, the surface area gets smaller. So keep that in your head. So at the very base bottom, it's your index funds, which is the biggest base, the biggest investment, because you have to remember the index is properly diversified now. And to point it up even further, to move it up, is just to make sure that you get the groove, make sure you try to beat the index. That is the whole point of trying to diversify this portfolio, okay? And also, to cover the bases. So I've spoken about the base, about putting 10 to 20,000 on index, a minimum. So you can continue buying, you can continue building that base. You don't have to necessarily build a pyramid. You can continue building the base for many years. That's fine. But for those who want to diversify further, a bit of a pointy edge. So let's move out from the base level 4. Let's move to level 3. Okay, let's move to level 3. Level 3, I've spoken a bit. It's about dividend companies, high-paying dividend companies with good free cash flow. Examples. I work in oil and gas. I like the likes of the Shell and BP. I could do lots of shopping. I like Unilever, Procter and Gamble, Reckitt Kaiser. I like my Diego. I like these companies that I use because I keep buying drinks, food, Colgate, Kellogg's, Walmart. These companies that I use every day. My mom goes and buys stuff from these companies, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. I've named lots of stocks already. These are high growth dividend companies. These companies were there when I was a 5-year-old boy, and this company will be there when my kids have their 5-year-old boy in the next maybe 30-40 years. These are high dividend companies. Start buying them because they pay you growing dividends. Make sure you pick the right one as well. Not necessarily every dividend companies will succeed. Some might fail for some reasons, Okay, so that's level 3 dividend companies. So I would say, if your index, if you keep it 40%, your dividend maybe keep about 20%. Okay? And then you start moving up to the next level, level 2. So level 2 are like growth companies. When I say growth companies, it's easy. They're all everywhere. I'll give you a few, yeah? Growth companies are like Facebook, Amazon, Uber, you've got Google, you've got Apple, some people argue they're already dividend. Disney, some people argue, but I still think they're growing, they're putting money. Basically, growth companies are companies which CEOs, investors are still putting money, hoping for growth. They're putting money in reinvesting their profits, hoping for more and more growth. But remember, when they invest money, if they do fail a particular project or an execution, they might go bankrupt. So try to choose growth companies that can afford to fail more than one time. That's the rule of thumb. So for example, if Facebook launch a dating app tomorrow, and if they fail in the next 2-3 years, I don't think Facebook will close down. They still have their other basic fundamentals business. Let's give a second example. If Amazon decide to launch helicopter lift and ride, and then a massive accident happen, a huge payout, billions of pounds, I'm sure Amazon still got money from their fundamental business to pay off. Another example with GoPro. If GoPro starts investing on 3D VR cameras, and if they fail, with the cash flow of GoPro, if they do fail another time, I don't think the company will sustain another hit. I think they might go bankrupt. So think about that realms for growth companies. Go for the reliable growth companies. It's hard to try to spot the next Amazon, but try to play the safe side as well. Okay, so there's level 2. So we got level 4, dividend level 3, growth companies level 2. Then for the highest level, you don't necessarily have to go to the highest level. Okay, I will only put a maximum of 10%. I call it high risk company. Really high risk company. It's only for people who want to build a decent gamble. It's for people who has already got a huge pot and they go, some guys might have got, some man, woman, family might already have invested like £500,000, and then they've got another 10-20 grand spare, and we thought, oh, maybe I'll invest in a high growth company, high risk company. So what could be a risk company? High risk company could be like, the next oil company, or you might be the next Uber. I know I mentioned Uber just now, but I think I still should class Uber in a high risk company, because if they do fail, I don't think they can recoup because they're still not making money. High risk company. Maybe companies like Deliveroo, what a high risk company I can think of. Bitcoin currency, I class them high risk. Bitcoin could be the next big thing in the next 5-10 years, or they might fall again. But if you set aside 10%, think about it. Set aside at 10%. I don't care what penny shares, whatever you buy. Set at 10% aside. If you do lose, the high risk company, they actually go to zero. You actually have to think, if you lose money, you go to zero. But when you go to zero, you only shave off the 10% of the overall portfolio. But you still have 90% left. Okay? Think about it. It's basic fundamental here. I don't care who you put as high risk, but make sure you diversify. Don't go beyond that 10%. So that's the peak of the pyramid. That's the highest risk. Okay? So many ways to skin the cat, but this is the method I preach to really, early beginners, investors. So you don't have to keep it complicated. Keep it simple, guys. Okay? So hope you find it useful, and I'll see you in the next part. Okay? See ya.